Hello guys, in today's video I'm going to be creating some cool circuit bendy CRT glitchy artwork using Glitch Machine. If you're new to Glitch Machine or if you've not heard me talk about this before, this is a drag and drop fully customizable collection of glitch effects in After Effects. It's a template that I update regularly. I'm currently working on the final update which will come out in November, so if you already have Glitch Machine you'll be getting that. If you don't, you can get in now and get the update for free in November, but if you want to know more about Glitch Machine you can just go to studioAAA.com/glitchmachine and all the information is there. The only other thing you are going to need for this video is the multi-comp editor, which is completely free. I'll leave a link to this in the description, but I'll show you how we're going to use that for this video because I'm going to make a poster design, or I'm going to just reformat Glitch Machine a little bit using this. So for me, I'm going to make this medieval knight helmet glitchy just because I wanted to do something medieval. You can obviously get this photo, I'll leave a link to it in the description, but if you want to search for your own images of like armor or a medieval knight, I would recommend the Met Museums collection. All you got to do is come here and tick open access, and then you can use all their public domain stuff and search for like helmet or I don't know, whatever you might want to do. Some of these might look cool if you want to follow along in the similar style that I'm doing, but totally up to you. Leave all this linked in the description. But this is Glitch Machine. I have got the May version open, so all you need is the May version. So the first thing we're going to do is resize Glitch Machine. So because there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 compositions here. Doing this manually would take ages. So what you're going to do is unzip the multi-comp editor files that you downloaded from my site. Then with After Effects open, come to File, Scripts, and click on Install Script UI panel. After Effects will then prompt you to navigate to a file on your computer, and the one you are going to install is this one. So don't install the simple UI one, just install the regular one. Obviously I've already got it installed, but After Effects will prompt you to restart After Effects when that's been installed just to make sure it works. So just close Glitch Machine, close After Effects, reopen it, and once you've reopened it, you can go to a window and then just click on the multi-comp editor for AE. When you click that, you'll get this little panel pop up. It might jump into your UI that's somewhere that's like annoying. I can't control where it sort of populates to, so I just dock mine here on the right because I don't really use much on the right, but you don't need to dock it. You can leave it open if you want to just leave it as a regular window. What we're then going to do is come to the project tab on the left. If you don't have the project tab, just go to window and make sure project down here is ticked. Then if you hold control and just click on your artwork here, Glitch Machine, image bloom, glitch displacement solid, editable chromatic aberration, don't click on distortion displace video, click on CRT screen overlay, CRT bend effect, CRT bend control, both of those, then click complex noise and then animated scanline textures. So we've selected every comp other than the distortion displace video because we don't need to change that one. By default it's set to 2160 by 2160. I'm going to change mine to 2160 by 2700 because that is the right aspect ratio for an Instagram post. I'm going to leave everything else the same and just press OK. So you'll get this little script alert that says applying composition changes. When you press OK to this, it will look like you broke everything, but don't worry, you haven't. So just press OK and you'll get another alert saying that it worked, and you can just press OK on that as well. So if we now zoom out, you'll see that everything's shifted away from where it should be. The reason for this is After Effects, unlike Photoshop and Illustrator, when it expands the composition, it doesn't do it from the middle outwards, it does it from the top left outwards. So the new space that's been added, we've only added height. So the new space that's been added, rather than adding half the height pixels at the top and half at the bottom like Photoshop would, it adds them all at the bottom. So all this means is we need to just go and realign some layers, and we're going to just scale up some adjustment layers. The good thing is once you've done this once, you won't need to do it again because we'll save it as a template or as a copy. And I'm also working on something for the final update that will make this a lot easier basically. So at this point in the tutorial, it's hard for me to show you the composition and all the controls I'm going to use because obviously I've got to pull up the timeline. So rather than showing you what the composition looks like, I'm just going to prioritize showing you the controls, because if you do exactly what I do with the controls, you'll see what it looks like in your window. So I'm going to scale these up and then come to window and just make sure align is ticked. It's the first one down. This is going to let you align your layers. So now we're done with the multi-comp editor. I'm just going to close that panel. So I've got align here. So in the main glitch machine comp, if you hold shift, click on the bottom layer, which says your artwork here, and then click on the top layer, which is the scrolling overlay, then come to your align panel, change this little drop down from selection to composition. Then you can click this little icon here to align vertically. So it's going to make everything meet in the middle basically. Next, pressing Control, you are going to go back to your timeline where your layers are, and just looking at the icons here, this one here where it says animated textures, and like this one for the your artwork here, these icons are composition icons. So with Control held down on your keyboard, click on every single composition icon. So this is just going to deselect them so that now when we scale things up, we're not going to be stretching anything that is in a composition basically. So with all that selected, pull your timeline down so you can use the transform controls, and clicking on any of these handles, just pull them up until the smallest square. So you can see here, my smallest square is the green one. The biggest one is obviously this red one. So pull them until the smallest one that you can see is just a little bit bigger than your whole composition. So that's us done with the glitch machine one. Next, this was the hardest one to do, so you've done the hardest one. Next, you're going to come to the your artwork here comp, and again, when we scroll and see what's changed here, you're going to notice again it's just added the pixels at the bottom. So because we're going to be adding our own image here, we don't really need to do much. This is the medieval helmet that I went for. So all I'm going to do is go to window, make sure properties is ticked, and then select my layer, and using the properties panel, I can scale where I'd like the helmet to be and how big I'd like it to be. So I'm going to go, so I've got the whole helmet in, I'm going to go for something like that. So that's the your artwork here comp done as well. Next, I'm going to come to the project tab and just double click on image bloom so we can fix this one too. So unlock your layers, hold shift, click on the bottom layer, click on the top layer, and then click on align vertically. And then these three adjustment layers here, we're just going to scale them up again so that they match the size of our new composition. You don't need to do anything with the glitch displacement solid one. The next one you're going to do is the editable chromatic aberration. So in here, just go to the layers section, right click, click on new, go to adjustment layer, then go to window and make sure you've got effects and presets ticked. When you've got that ticked, go into the search bar and just type in transform, drag it onto your new adjustment layer that you've created. And again, just go to window and make sure you've got effect controls ticked, which is down here. And you can use the position control to just pull all of the work down here. The reason we're doing it that way is just because the position sliders in properties will not work for the red, green and blue channels because I've reassigned them elsewhere for these sliders. So it's better to just do that with a transform. You can skip the distortion displace video. You can skip the CRT screen overlays as well. The next one is the CRT bend effect. So same problem here. After Effects has just added the pixels at the bottom. So we're going to click on our top layer, hold shift, click on the bottom layer, align these vertically in the align panel. Then the next one, just go to the CRT bend control. You can skip the bend control for frequency and angle, but the next one, just come to the clarity control. So same problem here again, unlock the layers. Anything that is not a composition, just scale it. And anything that is a composition, just align it basically. That's that one fixed. The next one is the complex noise comp. So again, just unlock the layers and you can scale these up. And then the last thing you need to edit is the animated scanline textures. So again, same problem. After Effects has generated pixels at the bottom, so you can just scale that up. So at this point, you've now reformatted Glitch Machine to fit whatever your new document size is, or your new composition size, sorry. Now to check it all works fine and you've not missed anything, just hide your timeline as much as you can. Then at the bottom here where it says 25% or whatever you're working with, just change that to fit to 100. And you can even use the hand tool and like zoom in and just look for any like static hard lines. So it looks like I've got one here at the bottom, which is a sign, if you can see it here, that I might have missed something. So for me, the thing that's causing the line is this layer scan displacement. So if we right click scan displacement, go to transform and just click on fit to comp, that usually fixes it. or because this is a displacement map, you can come into the displacement map, change it from center map to something like stretch map to fit or tile map. But luckily for me, the thing that isn't working, I actually just don't even want to use because it's making the work darker. So I'm going to disable that, but you can play with those settings if you would like to use the scan displacement on yours. So once you're at a point where you've got no solid lines, there are no effects that haven't been resized, everything is looking as it should be, you can go to File, Save As, and save this as a, whether you went for like a poster size or if you went for like a more traditional video size, you can save it as a template for that version of Glitch Machine before we start actually creating the work here. So I've done that already. You can do that if you want. But the next thing we're going to do is start controlling where this effect appears and sort of what determines where we'll get the bendy scan lines. The place we do that is in the CRT bend effect comp. So you can see here, this is like a dry or a unprocessed version of this effect. And in your timeline, you've got an animated threshold, static threshold, and then two other comps for the CRT bend control for frequency, angle, and clarity. So in the context of Glitch Machine and generally with effects outside of like Photoshop, threshold just means at what point will this effect kick in. So a lot of people, like, there's confusion sometimes when people read the word threshold in an After Effects template that I've made because their brain just goes to like Photoshop threshold. So if we switch from animated to static threshold and have a look at this slider, if you go to 0, the threshold is as low as it possibly can be, which means that all of the image will be affected by the scan lines effect, which is not what we want. So if we render that by going to Glitch Machine, you'll see it looks awful because there's no definition, there's no contrast. It is just the shape of a flat background kind of with a helmet and then just more flat background. So if we start to up the threshold until the background's cut out, so the threshold at 13.5, this is using luminance. So that means that the pixels here that are being cut out when we set the threshold to 13.5, all you're basically setting is the luminance value at which things get cut out, which is just another way of saying how bright things have to be for them to be included in this effect. So depending on your image, just find the sweet spot. Now for me, I would quite like to have the chainmail and a lot of the helmet included in this, but this sort of visor area where there is a cross in the original, I would like that to be cut out. So because we've got the image instanced in the Your Artwork Here tab, if you just go and grab a black and white adjustment from the color correction section in effects and presets, drag it onto your image that you've pulled in. Using the same image as me, you can just do the same that I do here, but depending on your image, you're going to be using different channels here. But as you can see, the section that I'm wanting to appear in black here in my output is gold in the input. So if I turn down the reds all the way to 0, yellows all the way to 0, it sort of cuts this out now. I can also just go through the other colors. There's not much green in this image clearly, so it doesn't matter what I do with the green. Cyan is mostly in the background, so I can turn that all the way down to make the background a little bit darker. Blues, there's some blue in the helmet and a little bit in the background, so if I turn the blues up, we're increasing the contrast between the helmet and the cross section. And I don't imagine there are any magentas in this image. No, there are not. So all we've done here basically is just blacked out some areas that we don't want to show in our output. So it's getting a little bit closer to what I want after adding this black and white. In the Your Artwork Here tab, you can also create a new adjustment layer and you can add things like curves. So if I go in, add a curves adjustment, you can start messing with the contrast. This is probably not going to give me what I want, but for your image, you might be getting closer and closer to what you need. And obviously in After Effects, if you just select the pen tool while you've got an adjustment layer selected, you can start to mask as well. Because of the fact that we're working with glitch effects and, you know, things are messy, things are going to be displaced and they're being run through like threshold filters and stuff, it means that the effects are a little bit more forgiving. You don't have to do like super precise masking. So if I just invert that mask to mask out this area where the curves adjustment is, even though it's still visible and the curves and the mask is, you know, messy, basically, it won't really affect it much in the output. So using adjustments in the Your Artwork Here tab combined with finding the right spot for your threshold, you can find sort of what is going to work for your image. All I'm going to do now is just add a little adjustment to this section so that the back side of the helmet is going to come through in my output. So if I go back to your artwork here, I'm going to create another new adjustment layer. This time I'm going to add levels, and I'm just going to pull the little handle for gamma closer to in the middle. And then just with the rectangle tool, I'm just going to select this back section of the helmet. And then in the mask settings, I'm just going to turn the mask feathering up a little bit. And if I come back to the bend effect, readjust the threshold a little bit, you'll see now that some of it at the back is coming through. And in the glitch machine comp, there's now like some more definition where the back of the helmet would be. You can keep going with that as much as you want. So for example, there is a section here where there's a reflection on this cross. So again, if I just create a new adjustment layer, go for curves and just make the whole image dark, but then with pen tool, just mask it to the area where the reflection is, and then turn up the feather on the mask and maybe turn down the opacity of the adjustment layer. When we go into the CRT bend effect, you'll see it's created a little bit more detail where the displacement is here. And in the final, the shape of the cross is coming through more and more now. So if I go again, just up the opacity a little bit more, see how that looks, and you'll see like the shape is coming through more now. So the main point here is that you don't have to be perfect. Like that mask looks awful, and I didn't spend time like tracing out this cross and tracing the helmet and using like really detailed masking. You don't need to do that because the glitch effects are gonna sort of play into like the messiness almost. So for me, I'm happy with that. So it's at this point where we're just gonna add some displacement. I'm gonna turn up the glow a little bit so it's a little bit prettier, and I'm gonna change the color as well. But mine's starting to render already. So as you can see, like if you were happy with this, you can just leave it like that and it'll animate already. But for me, I'm gonna just pull up this section now, and I'm gonna tell you exactly what I'm gonna apply and what I'm gonna change. So firstly, I'm gonna go to the distortion displacement adjustment layer. And all I'm gonna do is just crank the horizontal displacement. So the number shows up in red, don't worry about that. That just means it's animated. So whatever number you select, it won't sit at that number, it'll jump around. So if I just turn it up to literally like, let's go 323, and pull this back down, you'll see it sort of blasting these pixels at the bottom here. Could probably go a little bit higher to be honest. Even like 900, like this looks cool. Probably tone it down a little bit, but you can go as far as you want. So I'm gonna settle at 414. You can turn up the vertical as well if you like, but you're gonna have some like screen tearing at the top. I usually don't go vertical for displacement with this effect just because I don't like it. If you want to customize that displacement even more, you can double click on the distortion displacement source file. So by default, it will have all of these enabled. But for example, if you have displacement maps from somewhere else, I put out some free displacement maps earlier this year. Maybe you got those. You can drop those in here. Anything that's in here will be used as the source for the displacement that is in this adjustment layer we were just messing with. So if you want it to be a little bit less intense, you can disable some of these displacement maps here. So if I just leave the one on and go back, the displacement is just as intense, there's just less of it. So you can sort of control it both ways here. I'm gonna leave them both on because I want it to be like blasted. I want it to be really distorted, but that's your personal preference. So if I come back into Glitch Machine, the next thing I'm gonna enable is the light channel glow. So if I tick that, the glow is a little bit more intense. It might be a little bit too intense. So if we come to the properties section, we can turn the opacity down. Let me try 50%. That works for me, 50 is fine. You can try anything you want really. You can enable any of these effects. I don't exactly have this part planned out. I'm just sort of going off of what I remember about Glitch Machine. So glitch grain, sharpen glow. I wouldn't recommend it, but you can even go for these pixel downscale effects as well. They make things super messy. So depending on the level of detail in your input image, I maybe wouldn't go for that. If you have any plugins installed, if you've bought other After Effects stuff, you can add them to the Your Effects Here adjustment layer. But once you've picked effects that you like, you can come up to the CRT Bend Effect Hue and Glow layer. You can just disable this if you want, and you'll get all this like chromatic aberration. I'm gonna leave that on. And all you need to do here to change the color is just change the colorize hue. Now, at this point, I am nearly done, but I'm getting error messages with my screen recording, probably because I'm rendering all these effects. So customize all you want, change the color to whatever you want it to be. I'm going to go for a pink. And then if you want to save this effect just as a frame, just as an image, you come up to composition, save frame as file, and you can render it out to a PSD file. Or you can come to composition, add to Adobe Media Encoder Queue, choose your encoding settings, choose your render settings, and render it out as a video. And the good thing here is we've not destroyed anything. You can go to the Your Artwork Here tab and you can swap in a new image, or you can even keep the same image, and in the main glitch machine comp, you could just disable the CRT bend effect and just see what it looks like without any effects from that section of glitch machine. Obviously, we've built this one for that effect, so it's going to look a bit messy, but you can get other effects in glitch machine out of that image because we've not destroyed anything. Everything's remained fully editable. So I'll render mine out after the recording so I don't ruin the video. I'll show you what that looks like on screen now. But if you've already got glitch machine, I hope this was helpful, and I really appreciate your support. The November update, I don't want to like over promise, but honestly right now with what I'm making for the November update, it is going to make these versions that you've been working with look like beta tests basically. So if you want more glitch machine stuff, once the final update is done, I'm going to make more tutorials like this. Right now it's hard to make tutorials because I know what the new effects are in glitch machine and I can't cover those until I've got them working for everyone and out in an update. So there's other stuff that I'm ready to show you in glitch machine that I just can't show you yet until I've actually given you the project file. If you've not got glitch machine and for whatever reason you watched the end of this video, this pack / project file / collection of effects or whatever you want to call it is honestly, in my opinion, without spending money on plugins that for some people, you know, your PC might not be able to handle plugins, or without actually having an old CRT TV and like circuit bending equipment and a camera and stuff. If you're wanting to learn, if you're on a budget, or if you just want to try out glitch art, in my opinion, obviously I'm biased, but in my opinion, this is the best place to do it. 6 free updates, tutorials already done, more tutorials coming, one final update coming in November, which will mark 1 year of glitch machine updates. I will decide what to do with it after then. At like a bare minimum, after the final update, I will do an update once a year to fix any compatibility with like Adobe After Effects version 2025, 2026, 2027. If I'm still alive and well, I will do that. But yeah, if you bought this in October, as you can see here, October 2023, you've had a bunch of new assets, effects, tutorials, all that stuff added for free. Whether you used it once, some people have emailed me saying that they bought it in October but didn't start using it until recently and they didn't know about all the new stuff. So yeah, even though this is like a one payment thing, you only buy it once, all the updates are yours no matter at what point you buy it. You'll never pay for an update with Glitch Machine. So yeah, if you've got any questions about the effects I covered today, feel free to leave a comment or send me an email. I'm approaching 10,000 subscribers on this channel now, so if you like my content and would be willing to share this video or my channel or my website with any of your creative friends, I would really appreciate that. But thank you for watching and I will see you in the next video.